I was just going to say, I heard a story during Super Bowl week that I hadn't heard before, and we've talked a little bit about your recruiting trips. And I didn't have a whole lot of recruiting trips because I signed so dang quick. But Ed Orgeron was on a radio show during Super Bowl week, and he was talking about this crazy recruiting story. And somebody said, well, Ed, because he was known at USC specifically before he got some head coaching jobs as their best recruiter. He worked with Pete Carroll and, like Reggie Bush and all those guys.
How do you not want to play for a guy that sounds like Ed Orgeron?
Well, I totally agree.
When you say football coach, that guy's voice is like immediately the one that pops in your head.
Oh, man. Mark Sanchez did an impression of him on there, and it was dead on. Like,
that'd be awesome.
Come on. We're going to run through a wall. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Come on.
Anyway, it's something you can practice, but he was spot on. I thought it was Ed Orgeron. But so the one that got away for him was Adrian Peterson, which is really interesting because Adrian Peterson was a superstar athlete in high school. And Ed Orgeron remembers like recruiting him really hard. He was always out in Oklahoma, and they followed all the rules. He remembers like he showed up to see Adrian Peterson's school. Adrian Peterson said, "Hey, you got to follow me over here," so Ed Orgeron can't have him in his car. So Adrian Peterson drives somewhere, stops at a little like mini mart, gets a drink or whatever, and then they finish out. Like they drove about 45 minutes out of town to this high school, and they go into this basketball game, and Adrian Peterson's sitting in the bleachers, and Ed comes in and sits in the bleachers, and he's like, "So what are we doing out here?" He's like, "Why'd you want to meet me out here?" He goes, "Well, that's the point guard that I got a guard next week, and so I just wanted to watch him play some basketball." And wow. Ed Orgeron's like, "That's my kind of guy."
Damn,
you wonder why these guys are Hall of Famers. So he's like, "All right, this guy's sweet," but he's like, "All right, so USC and Oklahoma are kind of the top two schools that he's debating on," and I mean. This never happened to me. Maybe it happened to you. I don't know. People always talk about the money involved and whatnot. Ed Orgeron's like, all right. So Adrian Peterson's father was a convicted criminal. He was in prison at the time. And Stoops was, recruiting really hard as well. And Ed Orgeron's like, all right, Pete, this is what we got to do to get this guy. So let's see what we can do. He's like, so Adrian Peterson's number one thing is if he was going to choose Oklahoma, all the Oklahoma games were broadcast in the prison, in the penitentiary system. And he wanted his father to watch him play. So Ed Orgeron contacted the Department of Corrections in California, and they said, hey, could you contact Oklahoma and maybe get his father transferred to a correctional facility in California? This is what he's saying. He's not doing anything illegal at all.
That's
he's not paying the guy.
Beyond.
He knew exactly how he could get Adrian Peterson to come to USC would be to have the games broadcast, and they just weren't going to do the Oklahoma football games. He's like, but man, if I can get him transferred across state lines and get to a correctional facility in California, then I can probably get Adrian.
That's how good Adrian Peterson was.
Yeah. I mean, I think we understand that now. He's like 40 and he's still coming back to play. He's got other issues, but certainly a fantastic football player and a future Hall of Famer. But when I hear stories like that, I mean, these are the kind of things about, we've talked about on this podcast before, like Larry Bird being the best, shit talker in the NBA, and everybody's like, really? And then you just hear story after story after story. But Adrian Peterson, I mean, Ed Orgeron, not doing anything under the table, not paying the kid, but just like, you know what, Pete, if we can get his father, who's incarcerated in Oklahoma.
Always looking for that angle. He found it.
That's right. Yeah, he found the angle, but obviously it didn't work out because Adrian Peterson didn't go to Oklahoma. There was no way to get his father transferred from one correctional facility to the next. But anyway, I think his father's out of prison now. But boy, what a fantastic, like, that's when you know, first of all, how good the talent is, but also what a good recruiter Ed is. And he ain't no dummy. But I thought that was a story worth sharing with the that's a audience,
good one. So. Yeah, I wish I could say I had something similar to that to get me to go to Cal, but there ain't nothing like that. There ain't.
You got to storm the field. You said that last podcast. You got to storm the field when they beat. Who they beat? Was that the big game? Stanford?
UCLA. No, they beat UCLA for like the first time in like 15 years, and they were like freaking out. No, the only thing I got was my mom actually played it pretty good. Like when I was getting recruited to Cal, I think my mom had, visions of 1960 in her head when, Telegraph Avenue was blowing up and tanks were on fire up there and stuff like that. And this complete revolt during Vietnam. And she literally told the coach, she's like, my son's not going there. She's like, you can give him a scholarship. And then 7, our Bob Milano came down and sat in our living room. He's like, your son's going to be fine. And I think that was finally the one, you know, he came down and sat in our living room and said, for my mom, it was, are you going to take care of my baby? And then for me, it was like, dude, am I going to play? I don't want to go up there and not play. So he didn't guarantee the playing. He said, if you earn it, you'll play. But he put my mom's mind at ease, and that's as close as we got. You know what's funny about Ed Orgeron and that story is that it reminds me of Billions. Have you seen that TV show?
I have.
Yeah, when they're always trying to figure out each other's weakness.
Behind, I think.
Yeah, we just got into the last season because we found it. My wife is, dude, this podcast is spiraling out of control, and I don't know where my mind is at right now. But Billions,
you mean because you're throwing your wife out.
Oh yeah, I'm burying her again. But Billions, that they find the weakness, kill it and make everybody pissed off. But my wife, we finally convinced her to watch Yellowstone. Have you seen that TV show?
No. Again, I watched a trailer. I was like,
okay.
I mean, it's very predictable. It's like Dallas or whatever those shows are, right?
But it's entertaining. The Cowboys are cool, and everybody talks in this I got to take a dump voice. Grunting everything.
I got to draw. Yeah. Like the Geico commercial. All right, we're going to meet you at high noon. He's like,
I got to go.
That's
so
funny.
My wife all of a sudden last night pours a glass of Eagle Rare. I'm like, I go, somebody's been watching too much Yellowstone, man. And she's like, what are you talking about? Sipping her whiskey. I'm like, what the heck, dude? It's friggin' hilarious. But
that is funny.
That's the only thing that kind of spurred that thought. Sorry, podcast
no, that's
listeners.
Funny. She's
this
mimicking.
Is where we're at.
Yeah. No, she's mimicking. That's good. Yeah, you're a little. Remember, you're crossing your I's and dotting your T's today. Something
definitely
like that.
Doing that.
Yeah. That's all I got. I wanted to share a story that I had heard. So that's all I got. For
that's
this
a good
podcast,
one.
So
this
I
is
think
way more entertaining, dude. You've been good. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get notified when we post new videos.